There is a serious swarm of birds up here. It's so loud. The birds are just chirping. Sounds like thousands of them up in the trees. I want to talk today in this episode about an experiment that I've been doing for the last year. 1 year ago I had an experience with my smartphone and I killed my phone. So I've gone 1 year now without a phone. So basically in background I'll explain what happened. About a year ago I had put my laptop in the top shelf of a locker in a hostel that was about head height for me. And I put my phone on top of my laptop in the locker. I locked the locker and went out, I don't know, got dinner or something else like that. I came back in the evening, it was dark in the hostel, and I reached into the locker to pull out my laptop to check some email, and I had forgotten that my phone was on top of my laptop, and the phone slid off of the laptop and fell from about head height on me down to a tile floor, and it basically destroyed the phone. So this is an iPhone 4 that I had, and it was shattered, and you can see there's actually pieces missing out of the front of it, and some of the main buttons that you use no longer work, and only a small portion of the screen actually functions. Now I could fix this phone probably for, I don't know, $80 or $90, something like that. But today the iPhone 7 is out. Back then it was iPhone 6. And the costs of repairing an iPhone 4 versus buying a used one in mint condition are practically the same. And I wasn't using the phone that much traveling, so I opted not to repair the phone and took it sort of as a personal challenge to see if I could do 1 year without a phone, just sort of like an experiment. And I wanted to see what lessons I could learn in not having a phone for a year. So that's what I've done over this last year, and so I want to share some of the experiences I had, the pros and the cons, and what I learned from not having a phone for a year, and whether I'm going to go back to having a phone or just continue not having a phone. So that's what you can expect in this episode. I should explain that I don't dislike mobile phones or smartphones. Not really. I'm sort of a gadget guy. I'm sort of a gadget freak. I'm obsessed with technology. I love computers. My senior year in high school, I did a VOTEC program at the community college in computer programming languages. And my first year of college, actually, I was a computer science major, learning how to program in different languages. Just quite obsessed with science fiction, Star Trek, Star Wars, all of the sci-fi genre movies, as well as books. And so smartphones are sort of all of that, put in one little machine, one phone, a lot like a tricorder. So the first smartphones I was just quite obsessed with. What I don't really like about phones are really talking on phones. I just don't like the aspect of talking with my voice to a machine, to a voice on the other side. There's something about it that seems impersonal, and I just really dislike it. Texting for me is also a challenge because on a computer I type fairly fast, like 80 words a minute, something like that. And so using the small little keyboard either with your fingers or your thumbs just doesn't work for me. I typically use swipe, which is where you drag your finger from letter to letter. It's much faster, and that works well for me, but still, even using swipe, I just like texting. So I just wanted to explain that I love technology, I love computers, I love gadgets. I just dislike talking on a phone. There's just so many things about it that I just don't enjoy. Over the last year, I've learned that there are several benefits, more than I actually expected, to not owning a phone, which was sort of surprising to me. One of those is having richer experiences in life and engaging people in conversations. Just sitting down and having a really high quality conversation and not having interruptions by a phone or a temptation to look at the phone for text messages or checking the weather or just becoming distracted every time it buzzes or blinks. A couple other benefits of not having a phone that I learned were, one, the cost. You're saving a lot of money by not having a phone. Mobile phone bills run anywhere from $35 up to $70, $80 a month depending on your plans, especially if you're including unlimited data packets. Then you're looking at some pretty pricey phones, and if you add in a 2-year contract where you're getting a free phone with your 2-year contract, then really they're building in the cost of a $500 or $600 or $700 phone into your phone bill, which raises your phone costs by $15 to $20 each month. So it really jacks up your prices. The other is you're not carrying around a giant phone. The phones are getting a lot bigger. Prior to smartphones, the phones were actually getting smaller, really, really small. You could get phones that were like that big, like almost matchbook size with flip-out lids. Then all of a sudden Apple releases the smartphone, and then the phones start getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Some of the Chinese Samsung phones are absolutely huge. They call these things phablets because they're like a tablet phone that's so big you can barely get your hand around it and talk on this phone. It's really huge. So anyway, not carrying around a phone is another one of the benefits of basically not owning a phone. I think one of the other things I like about not using a phone is the challenge of using old school skills before we had mobile phones. For instance, using maps, a traditional paper map or a hand-drawn map, and following directions, going to a certain street and turning left, going so many blocks or so many meters or so many feet, and turning right, crossing over a bridge. I sort of like that challenge of getting from point A to point B just with paper directions, or reading a map and figuring out a map. Another benefit of not having a phone is not having to worry about it getting stolen. When I was traveling through Latin America and a few places here in Europe, it was really a serious concern. One of the big theft items is your phone. Some places like Malaysia, if you pull out your phone and you're talking it on the street corner, people stand next to the wall instead of next to the street on a sidewalk, because the people on motorcycles are so good at snatching phones out of people's hands while they're talking on it. You hold your phone up to your face, you're talking on it, walking down the street, and somebody on a motorcycle will literally rip it out of your hand while they're riding their motorcycle and take off with it. So that's something I don't have to worry about when I don't have a phone. There are maybe 4 or 5 apps that I really miss from having a smartphone. First is Google Maps. That's pretty obvious, especially for travel, walking into a city you've never been to before, and easily being able to see where you are with the blue dot and where you need to go. In some of my videos you can see the challenges and the difficulties I've had getting from bus stations or train stations to my hostel, especially on buses that let you off where you're not expecting to get off and you need to get to point B to your hostel. The second one would be BlaBlaCar. Over in Europe, BlaBlaCar is really, really popular. It's a ride-sharing app that allows you to find and connect with people that are going from one city to the next city, and you're able to get a ride with them and maybe 2 or 3 other people in the car at a drastically reduced rate. It's really a nice way to travel, to connect with locals, and it's much faster than buses, typically the speed of fast trains. So it's pretty much the best way to get around from city to city. So BlaBlaCar would be app number 2. App number 3 is probably, I would say, dating apps. Choose your app if you want, Tinder or Grindr. Both of those are fantastic for dating, traditional dating without sex, or if you're just a little frisky and just want to hook up for sex, you can find it easily with both of those apps. So that's another challenge with traveling without a phone, is dating, not only for all of the things that we use it for, calling, texting, communication, it's also coordinating the actual meeting of someone who's a stranger when you arrive at a coffee shop to say, hey, I'm here. I'm the guy wearing the blue hat sitting in the corner, or saying I'm running late. Those kinds of things are not possible unless you have a mobile phone with texting capability and you've traded that kind of information. The last app that I could really use on a mobile phone that would be helpful to me is the GoPro app. And that's because the camera that I'm using for most of my videos, and the one that I'm shooting this with, is a GoPro Session 4. It's sort of the little cube camera. most of the controls for this camera are actually on a mobile phone, on a smartphone. One of the other things I really miss in not having a phone is the MP3 player. Being able to listen to music and being able to listen to podcasts, the basically audio commentary, just somebody talking about something interesting. This could be NPR with news items, it could be intellectual things, philosophy, educational. I really enjoyed that, and that would be something helpful for me while I'm traveling on buses or trains. And so I really miss that in not having a phone. So the question might be asked, how did I survive 1 year without a phone and running a business? I have a number of clients that I'm running graphic design business and traveling. So what did I do during this time to be able to survive and function without a phone? Primarily that's with a laptop. I use a laptop computer, email for my clients, Skype meetings with some of my clients. All of my work that I send to clients to and from clients are PDF files or updates to websites, things like that. So all of that can be done with a laptop very easily. I do my map work on my laptop, and then I draw maps or print them out to be able to use and take with me. So that's pretty much how I survived, is mostly using my laptop. Beyond that, I've been very limited in my ability to get by. I just have to ask for help from other people for all of those areas that I mentioned before where I really miss about a mobile phone. So I want to wrap things up. In conclusion, I went 1 year without a smartphone and I learned a lot about it. And the end result, would I have a phone again in the future? Do I plan on having a phone? The answer is yes. In January, I'm planning on buying a phone. After I purchase it, I'm going to do a little gadget review and talk about why I chose the phone that I chose. Am I looking forward to it? Yeah, I think life will be better for the phone. And if I have to choose having a phone or not having a phone, I think probably a phone is more helpful and more beneficial than the downsides of not having a phone. It's been an interesting challenge. It's been really fun for me over the last year, a little bit stressful at times, but I'm glad I went a year without a phone, and I certainly learned a lot from not having a phone. And I'm looking forward to having a phone again. I think it will give me all of those apps, the 4 or 5 apps that I'm interested in using, and that will enrich and enhance my life. The lesson I've learned, though, is I'll probably leave my phone in the car or turn it off when I go in to meet with people, put it in a coat pocket, a jacket pocket, something like that, so that it's not distracting me from engaging with others. So I think that's what I learned about going without a phone, is how to engage others and the impact that the phone makes on that particular aspect of my life. That's all I have for this episode. Please remember, savor the moment, be happy, pursue your passions, and I'll see you next episode.